Hi, and welcome to Lambda U. My name is Jessica, and I'm a Solutions and Support Scientist at LICOR. Over the next few lessons, we will discuss the best practices for adjusting your Chemi and NIR Western blot images to avoid manipulating your data. Now that Andy has covered how an imager can manipulate your image during acquisition through bidding pixels or stacking images, we will discuss how analysis software can be misused to inadvertently incorporate error or manipulation in your data analysis. Now, before I get started, I want to share with you a tough lesson that I learned about image analysis when I was in college. As an undergraduate researcher, I was tasked with quantifying fat deposits on aortas. So to remove any bias, I had my lab mate prepare and image the slides. Unfortunately, the images of the aortas were wildly different. They weren't acquired under the same settings, which yield vastly different images. So to make them more visually similar, I adjusted the brightness and contrast levels and then quantified the pixel values. Well, at the time, I didn't know that the software changed the pixel values when I adjusted the brightness and contrast levels. Luckily, I realized there were issues before we published the data, so I was able to reanalyze it. So to make sure that you do not make the same mistakes that I have made, I'm going to discuss how to ensure that your imager and software are not manipulating your data. But before we begin discussing how to adjust your Western blot images, it's important to understand the difference between adjusting your image and manipulating them. Image adjustment means that you apply brightness and contrast and color balance adjustments linearly across the whole image. So you don't want to change the intensity values that are assigned to each pixel. However, if you only adjust the brightness and contrast to a small portion of your image, or you adjust the levels in a non-uniform adjustment across the image, well, then you're manipulating it. So when you're adjusting your brightness and contrast, make sure that it's changed in either linear or logarithmic proportion rather than randomly adjusting the pixel values throughout the image. Another example of image manipulation is removing unwanted bands or reducing your background noise. So more simply put, image manipulations affect your resulting quantitative data, whereas image adjustments do not. Now that you know the difference between image adjustment and manipulation, the next step is to make sure that your analysis software does not manipulate your image. Not all Western blot analysis programs are created equally, nor are all image quantification software designed to be used for Western blots. So when you're deciding which software to use, it's important to understand how it handles the Western blot data. If the software bins the pixels or stacks the images, choose a different software analysis package that doesn't utilize these forms of manipulation. You want to ensure that the software is specifically designed for Western blot analysis. You may not have realized it, but the way you save and export your images can also affect your data. When you save your data, you want to make sure that you're saving it in a format that includes all the information from the original acquisition without any data loss. As Andy had discussed, each program does have its own recommended method for exporting the data. This will ensure that the file contains all the image information. So when you're exporting the data that you intend to analyze, save it in the appropriate format that's recommended for your analysis software. When exporting the data for publication, determine the appropriate file format and resolution that's required by the journal. Be careful of exporting the files in a format that will compress the original image. If you notice that the software that you're using does manipulate your image, you should definitely switch to a new type of analysis software, one that is specifically designed for Western blot analysis. There are several different types of software packages that will allow you to analyze your data. For example, LICOR has two different analysis software for your Western blots, Image Studio and Empiria Studio. Because not all analysis software is designed for Westerns or can allow you to make changes that can distort your data, it's really important that you understand how the software handles the analysis of your Western blots. Next, we're going to discuss how to handle the analysis of your saturated bands on your Western blot.